The warning came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Earth's deep space monitoring stations picked up the signal simultaneously, massive objects dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Within minutes, every astronomical center on the planet was focused on the same thing, a fleet of ships so large it blotted out the stars behind it. Admiral Tom Baker stood in Earth Defense Command's main control room, his coffee growing cold in his forgotten cup. The massive screen before him showed hundreds of ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their metallic surfaces gleamed in the distant sunlight, arranged in perfect geometric patterns that spoke of military precision. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Ray from his station, "we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies." Baker placed his cup down and straightened his uniform. 25 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. "Put it through," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. The screen flickered, and an image appeared. The being on the screen looked almost human, but not quite. Skin too perfect, eyes too bright, movements too precise. When it spoke, its words were in perfect English. "People of Earth, I am Grand Commander Lewis of the Imperial Fleet. Your world has been chosen for integration into the Galactic Empire. Resistance is not advised. We have perfected this process across 312 civilizations. Submit now, and the transition will be peaceful." The control room fell silent. Baker felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and it came in the form of a conquest. "Get me the Security Council," Baker ordered, "and contact every major military command center. We need to move to Defense Protocol Alpha immediately." Within an hour, the world's military leaders gathered in the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The bunker, built to withstand nuclear war, now served as humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion. General Maria White, head of Global Strategic Command, led the briefing. The Imperial Fleet consists of approximately 500 capital ships and over 2,000 support vessels. Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of ours. Traditional military response would be ineffective. "What about their demands?" asked Colonel Thompson, his face grim in the harsh lighting. "We've received their terms," White replied, bringing up a holographic display. "Complete surrender of all military forces, integration of our technology with theirs, and acceptance of imperial governance. They've given us 12 hours to respond." Baker studied the data flowing across the screens. Something caught his eye in the sensor readings. "Look at their communication patterns," he said, pointing to a graph. "Everything they do is perfectly coordinated. Too perfect." Dr. Roberts, Earth's leading expert in artificial intelligence, leaned forward. "You're right. These patterns, they're using some form of quantum AI network. Their entire fleet operates as a single organism. Could that be a weakness?" Baker asked, his military mind already searching for advantages. "Possibly," Roberts replied, typing rapidly on her tablet. "Their systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also predictable. They operate on pure logic, pure efficiency, something we humans have learned to be wary of." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans had spent centuries developing technology, but they had also learned its limitations. They kept backup systems, maintained obsolete equipment, and never fully trusted automation with their survival. Baker stood up, his decision made. "Send word to all commands. Activate the Ghost Protocol, and send a message to the Imperial Fleet." "What message, sir?" Lieutenant Ray asked. "Tell them this. Message received. Earth's response will follow. Then begin evacuating our cities. If they want Earth, they'll learn why no empire in human history has ever successfully conquered the entire planet." As the orders went out, Baker watched the Imperial Fleet on the main screen. They hung in space, perfect and precise, waiting for Earth's submission. They had conquered hundreds of worlds, all more advanced than Earth. But they had never faced humans before. And humans had one advantage no other species had: millennia of fighting against overwhelming odds. They had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and their own worst impulses. Now they would show the galaxy why. The clock was ticking. Earth had 12 hours to prepare its response. But unknown to the Empire, plans made decades ago were already in motion. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They had no idea what they had just started. The Imperial scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn. They moved with perfect precision, their silver hulls reflecting the morning sun as they descended toward the major cities. Inside Earth's hidden command center, Admiral Baker watched their approach on old radar systems that still used vacuum tubes. "Primitive but reliable," he muttered, tapping the screen. "And more importantly, impossible for them to hack." Dr. Roberts rushed into the room, her eyes bright with excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, spreading papers. Actual physical papers, on the desk. "We've analyzed their first wave of scouts. They're completely automated. No living crews." "That tracks with what we've seen," General White added, studying the papers. "Every transmission, every movement is too perfect. They're running their entire invasion through AI systems." On the monitors, they watched as the scout ships began their scanning routines. The ships moved in exact patterns, their sensors probing Earth's defenses, but they were finding exactly what Earth wanted them to find. "Look at that," Dr. Roberts pointed to a data stream. "Their quantum AI is analyzing everything based on technological advancement. They're categorizing us as a level 2 civilization because we still use fossil fuels and haven't colonized our solar system." Baker smiled for the first time since the invasion began. "They're making the same mistake everyone makes. They think newer always means better." In orbit, the Imperial command ship received the scout data. Grand Commander Lewis processed the information through his neural interface. Everything matched their predictions perfectly. Earth was a primitive world, barely worth noting except for one factor. Its location made it perfect for an Imperial hub. "Send in the first wave of integration units," he ordered. His commands flowed through the quantum network, precise and instant. Back on Earth, Baker gathered his team. "Dr. Roberts, show them what you found." She pulled out an old laptop, the kind with no wireless connections. Their entire empire runs on quantum computing networks. Advanced, yes, but also vulnerable. They got rid of all analog technology centuries ago. They don't even understand it anymore. "How does that help us?" Colonel Thompson asked. "Because of this," she typed on the laptop, bringing up a diagram. "Their ships, their weapons, their entire command structure. It all depends on quantum transmissions. But quantum signals have one major weakness. They can't handle chaos. Random variations confuse them. And if there's one thing humans are good at," Baker added, "it's being unpredictable." The room buzzed with activity as the plan took shape. Around the world, old radio stations powered up. Mechanical computers from the 1960s were brought online. Vacuum tube electronics, paper maps, and analog equipment were pulled from storage. "Signal from the Imperial fleet," Lieutenant Ray announced. They're laughing at us, sir. Their commander says our technology belongs in a museum." "Perfect," Baker replied. "Let them laugh. Meanwhile, get me Project Chaos on the line." Deep in an underground bunker, a team of engineers worked on ancient equipment. These machines had no digital parts, no modern electronics. They were built entirely of gears, springs, and basic electronics. The kind of technology the Empire had forgotten existed. "Sir," Dr. Roberts said, checking her readings, "the first wave of their integration units just landed. They're deploying their standard conquest protocols." Baker nodded. "Right on schedule. How long until they realize their quantum scans can't read our old technology?" "At their current rate of scanning, about 3 hours. They literally can't understand what they're seeing. Their eye has no reference for purely mechanical computers. Around the world, Humanity's response was taking shape. While the Empire's scouts searched for digital networks and advanced weapons, they completely missed the old shortwave radio networks, the mechanical signaling systems, and the thousands of resistance cells equipped with technology too old to be detected. Message from Command Post 7. Lieutenant Ray reported, "Project Chaos is ready." Baker looked at the Imperial ships hovering above Earth's cities, their quantum computers trying to make sense of the conflicting data they were receiving. They expected submission. They expected fear. They expected Earth to behave like every other world they had conquered. They were about to learn why humans kept their old technology. Sometimes, the best way to fight the future was with the past. "Send the signal," Baker ordered. "It's time to show them why you should never underestimate humans." Project Chaos was about to begin, and the Empire's perfect record was about to meet its match in humanity's organized chaos. The old television station in Denver hummed to life for the first time in 15 years. Its analog transmitters, considered obsolete in the digital age, were about to serve their most important purpose. Around the world, similar stations powered up, their signals impossible for Imperial quantum systems to block or decode. Admiral Baker stood before a simple camera in the broadcast room. No digital equipment, no fancy effects, just a man about to deliver the most important message in human history. "Are we ready?" he asked, straightening his uniform. Dr. Roberts checked the old equipment. "Broadcasting in 30 seconds. Remember, we're sending this on every frequency, using every old transmitter we have. They won't be able to stop it." Baker nodded, taking a deep breath. When the red light came on, he began speaking. "To the Imperial fleet commanding Earth's orbit, we've received your demands for surrender. Now, receive our response." In orbit, Grand Commander Lewis watched with mild amusement as the primitive broadcast reached his ships. The signal was crude, using technology that should have died out centuries ago. Yet something about the human's tone made him pause. Baker continued, his voice steady. "You believe you know war because you've conquered 300 worlds. But those were civilizations that grew up in peace. Humanity grew up fighting. We've spent most of our history at war, with nature, with each other, and with extinction itself." The broadcast switched to images, simple, analog footage of human history, world wars, natural disasters, plagues, and humanity surviving it all. "We survived an ice age with nothing but stone tools and determination. We've lived through plagues that killed millions. We've faced nuclear weapons and chose not to use them again. Every time nature or fate tried to kill us, we came back stronger." In the Imperial command ship, Lewis felt the first hint of unease. His quantum eye was struggling to process the sheer chaos of human history. No other species had survived so many near-extinction events. "You think we're primitive because we keep old technology." Baker's voice carried a hint of steel now. "We keep it because we learned the hard way. Never throw away what works. Never forget the old ways. Because when the new fails, the old might save you." Around Earth, hidden resistance cells activated. Their equipment was old, mechanical, impossible for Imperial sensors to detect. Humans had spent decades preparing for war, not with aliens, but with themselves. Now those preparations would serve a different purpose. You see our cities and think we're defenseless. You scan our technology and think we're weak. But you're scanning for the wrong things. You're looking for advanced weapons, for digital networks, for quantum systems. You should be looking for something far more dangerous: human determination. Baker leaned closer to the camera, his eyes hard. "We've spent thousands of years fighting ourselves. We've developed more ways to wage war than your empire has stars. And unlike your conquered worlds, we never stopped preparing for the worst." In orbit, Lewis ordered his eye to analyze the human's words. The response came back confused. No species had ever responded to Imperial demands this way. "So here is Earth's only warning to the Galactic Empire," Baker continued. "Leave now. Because if you force this war, you won't be fighting an inferior civilization. You'll be fighting an entire species that has turned survival into an art form. A species that thrives on chaos and builds backup plans for their backup plans. The broadcast showed more images, great human achievements built from the ashes of disasters, civilizations rising from ruins, humanity's endless cycle of falling and getting back up. We've survived our own worst impulses for millennia. We've faced extinction-level events and walked away stronger. Your perfect systems, your quantum AI, your advanced technology, they've never faced anything like humanity. Baker's final words carried across every frequency in every language. This is not a plea for mercy. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. Leave Earth alone, or learn why even humans fear human warfare. The broadcast ended, but its effect was immediate. Across the Imperial fleet, quantum systems struggled to calculate this new variable. They had expected submission or futile resistance. Instead, they got something their advanced AI couldn't process: the absolute confidence of a species that had turned survival into an instinct. In the broadcast room, Baker turned to his team. Now we wait. Either they leave or they learn. Dr. Roberts checked her instruments. Sir, they're moving their ships into attack formation. Baker nodded grimly. Then they've chosen to learn. Activate Project Chaos. Let's show them what real warfare looks like. The Empire had made its choice. Now, they would face something their perfect systems had never encountered: humanity unleashed. The Imperial attack began at midnight. Thousands of ships descended from the sky, their quantum weapons lighting up the darkness. From his command center, Grand Commander Lewis watched with satisfaction as his AI systems predicted a quick victory. The humans' primitive defenses wouldn't last an hour. Begin standard conquest protocol, Lewis ordered. Target their digital infrastructure first. The first wave of attacks hit Earth's major cities. Imperial ships fired precision beams that should have shut down every computer network on the planet. In orbit, the Empire's quantum AI reported success. All modern digital systems were offline. Yet something was wrong. Sir, Lieutenant Ray called out from his station in Earth's underground bunker using an old telephone line. The Empire has knocked out the internet and power grid, just as we expected. Admiral Baker nodded, watching the attack through analog radar screens. And our real systems? Untouched. They don't even know they exist. Across the planet, cities went dark. But beneath the darkness, humanity's true defense network hummed with life. Old telephone exchanges from the 1950s carried messages through copper wires. Mechanical computers, built without a single digital part, tracked Imperial ship movements. Radio operators used equipment from World War II to coordinate Earth's response. In New York, Imperial forces landed expecting to find chaos. Instead, they found empty streets. Their sensors showed no resistance, no military response, no signs of organization. It seemed too easy. Something isn't right, Lewis muttered, watching the invasion through his neural interface. Where is their resistance? His answer came in ways his advanced systems couldn't understand. In Chicago, Imperial troops found their quantum communicators jammed by signals from old AM radio towers. In Tokyo, their sensors were blinded by interference from equipment so old it might as well have been steam-powered. Status report, Baker commanded, his voice calm as he studied paper maps spread across a wooden table. Project Chaos is working perfectly, Dr. Roberts replied. Their quantum AI can't handle the random interference patterns. They're fighting blind. The Empire's perfect invasion plan began to unravel. Their ships, dependent on quantum guidance systems, struggled to navigate through the storm of analog signals filling the air. Their troops, used to fighting enemies their AI could predict, found themselves facing an enemy that didn't show up on their sensors at all. Impossible, Lewis growled as another patrol lost contact. Their technology is primitive. Their weapons are ancient. How are they doing this? In London, an Imperial squad discovered why. They found their advanced weapons useless against simple mechanical traps. In Moscow, their perfect formations were broken by resistance fighters using paper maps and hand signals. In Rio, their quantum-shielded armor proved worthless against weapons so basic they didn't register as weapons at all. "Sir," an Imperial officer reported to Lewis, "we've occupied the major population centers, but we're not finding any significant military presence." "Because you're looking in the wrong places," Baker whispered in his bunker. He turned to his team. "Time for Phase 2. Show them why humans never put all their eggs in one basket." Across Earth, hidden resistance cells activated. Millions of people, armed with equipment too old to be detected, emerged from underground bunkers and hidden bases. The Empire had expected to fight a modern army. Instead, they faced an entire planet of humans who had spent decades preparing for the worst. "What's happening?" Lewis demanded as reports of attacks flooded in. His quantum eye struggled to process the chaos. Nothing followed its predictions. Nothing made sense. "Their ships can't track us," Dr. Roberts reported to Baker, watching through old binoculars as Imperial forces struggled to maintain formation. "They depend too much on their advanced technology. They've forgotten how to fight without it." Baker picked up an old radio microphone. "All units, execute Operation Throwback. Show them what human warfare really looks like." The Empire had conquered worlds by shutting down their advanced technology, but they had never faced an enemy that could fight without any technology at all. As their perfect plans fell apart, they began to understand Baker's warning. They weren't fighting a primitive civilization. They were fighting humanity. And humanity had learned long ago never to depend too much on any one thing, especially not technology that could be turned against them. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and the Empire was about to learn why humans were the only species that had turned warfare into an art form. 3 days into the invasion, the Empire faced something they'd never encountered before: total confusion. Their quantum computers, designed to predict and counter any military strategy, were failing. Not because Earth had better technology, but because humans were using no technology at all. Another squadron lost contact in Sector 7. An Imperial officer reported to Grand Commander Lewis. "They say the humans are using paper maps and compasses." Lewis slammed his fist on his command console. "Impossible. How can they coordinate attacks without digital networks?" The answer came from an old warehouse in Detroit. Inside, Admiral Baker stood in a room filled with mechanical computers, their gears clicking as they tracked Imperial ship movements. Dr. Roberts rushed in, holding a printed message. "It's working better than we hoped," she said, excitement in her voice. "Their AI can't understand our old Morse code transmissions. They think it's random noise." Across Earth, humanity's real defense plan swung into action. In abandoned subway tunnels, resistance fighters used hand-cranked generators to power ancient radio sets. In farm fields, tractors pulled hidden analog jammers that confused Imperial sensors. Every primitive tool humans had kept became a weapon. "Report from the Australian outback," Lieutenant Ray called out. "Their Aboriginal guides are leading Imperial troops in circles. No GPS, no electronic trails to follow." Baker smiled. "The oldest navigation methods are proving the most effective. What's the status of Operation Typewriter?" "Messages are flowing through the old postal routes," Dr. Roberts replied. "The Empire's quantum AI doesn't even recognize handwritten letters as communication. They're looking for digital signals while we're using ink and paper." In orbit, Imperial ships began experiencing strange malfunctions. Their perfect formations broke apart as their navigation systems received conflicting data. On the ground, their troops faced an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "Sir," an Imperial technician called to Lewis, "we're detecting thousands of new signals, but they're not using any known technology. It's like fighting ghosts." The ghosts were everywhere. In Paris, resistance fighters used mechanical timing devices to coordinate attacks. In Mumbai, Old temple bells sent coded messages the Empire couldn't crack. In Cairo, ancient water clocks helped time movements between patrols. They're not just avoiding our technology, Lewis realized with growing horror. They planned for this. They kept everything that couldn't be hacked or controlled. Baker watched the Imperial fleet's confusion through a World War II periscope. Phase 3, he ordered. Show them why humans never stopped teaching analog skills. Across the planet, people emerged from hiding. Boy Scouts used mirror signals to coordinate movements. Ham radio operators transmitted messages through frequencies the Empire's computers ignored. Farmers used hunting skills to track Imperial patrols. This is impossible. Lewis raged as another sector went dark. They're savages. Their technology is ancient. No, Baker said quietly in his bunker. We're survivors, and we survived by never trusting any single system too much. The Empire's perfect invasion plan crumbled. Their ships, unable to distinguish between real threats and mechanical decoys, wasted resources attacking dummy targets. Their ground forces, trained to fight enemies their AI could predict, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans using techniques thousands of years old. Message from London, Ray reported. The mechanical computers are working. Imperial ships can't track anything that doesn't use electricity. Dr. Roberts checked her old analog instruments. Their quantum AI is overloading. It can't process so many variables it doesn't understand. Every time it tries to predict our moves, we do something its programming says is impossible. In his command ship, Lewis watched in disbelief as his invasion force lost control of city after city. His AI systems, programmed with every known military strategy, couldn't handle an enemy that used no strategy at all, just pure human adaptability. Sir, Baker's aide reported, the Empire is pulling back from major cities. They can't hold ground against enemies they can't detect. Baker nodded, picking up an old field telephone. Send word to all commands. Begin Operation Stone Age. Show them why humanity never forgot the old ways. The Empire had expected to fight a modern war. Instead, they found themselves facing every type of warfare humans had ever invented, all at once. And they were about to learn why the most dangerous weapon on Earth wasn't technology, it was human ingenuity. 1 week into the invasion, Grand Commander Lewis faced a nightmare he never thought possible. His mighty Imperial fleet, conqueror of 300 worlds, was losing to a planet that still used steam engines. Our quantum systems are failing across all sectors, his chief engineer reported. The humans, they're not just fighting back. They're infecting our network with chaos. In Earth's command bunker, Dr. Roberts explained their success to Admiral Baker. The Empire's weakness was always their perfect order. So we gave them disorder, but not random disorder, calculated chaos. Baker watched through old binoculars as another Imperial ship lost control, its quantum guidance systems overwhelmed by signals from Earth's remaining analog transmitters. How many ships have we confused so far? Over 200, Lieutenant Ray reported from his station, using an old ticker-tape machine to count the victories. And the best part, the Empire's own network is spreading the confusion. Their ships are so connected that when one gets confused, it confuses others. The Empire had never faced this problem before. Their quantum AI, designed to learn and adapt, was learning the wrong lessons from Earth's chaotic defense. Every time it thought it understood human tactics, humans changed everything. Another patrol lost in the Amazon. An Imperial officer reported to Lewis. The natives are using bird calls to coordinate attacks. Bird calls. Our sensors can't tell which ones are signals and which are real birds. Lewis watched in horror as his perfect invasion force fell apart. In Africa, tribal drums carried messages his computers couldn't decode. In Russia, old women sitting on benches tracked imperial movements by gossip alone. In Canada, trappers used wilderness skills to ambush patrols that relied too much on technology. Sir, Dr. Roberts called out excitedly. The backup quantum computers we captured. We were right. Their AI can't handle true randomness, and humans are the most random things it's ever seen. Baker smiled. Time to show them what else we can do. Launch Operation Backdoor. Across Earth, hidden teams of human hackers began their real work. They didn't attack the Empire's quantum network directly. That would be impossible. Instead, they used the Empire's own perfectionism against it. Status report, Baker commanded. The captured Imperial ships are broadcasting now, Ray replied, just like you planned. Their fleet is receiving thousands of conflicting orders, all in their own perfect format. Their AI can't tell which orders are real anymore. In orbit, Lewis watched his fleet fall into chaos. Ships received multiple orders, each one perfectly formatted, each one contradicting the others. The quantum AI, programmed to follow perfect patterns, found too many perfect patterns to follow. Shut down the network. Lewis ordered. Cut all connections between ships. But it was too late. The Empire's greatest strength, its perfectly connected fleet, had become its greatest weakness. Each ship's quantum computer tried to resolve the conflicts by asking other ships, spreading the confusion further. Message from Berlin Command, Ray announced. Imperial ground forces are retreating worldwide. Without guidance from their ships, their fancy weapons are useless. They're falling back to preset positions. But we know all their preset positions, Baker finished, because they're too perfect to change their plans. The Empire's unraveling accelerated. Their ground forces, lost without their quantum guidance, faced humans who had trained for years to fight without any guidance at all. Their ships, trying to restore order, only created more chaos as their conflicting commands spread through the network. This is impossible, Lewis shouted as another sector fell. We are the Imperial fleet. We've never lost a battle. First time for everything, Baker muttered, watching through his old periscope as Imperial ships collided, their perfect formation broken by too many perfect but conflicting orders. Dr. Roberts checked her mechanical computers. Sir, their main quantum core is approaching overload. They can't process all the contradictions. Baker picked up his old radio handset. All units, begin final phase. Show them why humanity never trusted perfection. The Empire had believed their perfect system was unbeatable, but they never understood that perfection itself was a weakness. Humans, with their imperfect ways and backup plans, had spent their entire history preparing for when perfect systems failed. And now, the Empire was about to learn the final lesson about humanity. Perfect systems break perfectly, and humans were the masters of breaking things. The end of the Imperial invasion came not with a massive explosion or a decisive battle, but with a simple system crash. The Empire's quantum network, overwhelmed by human chaos and contradictions, finally broke down. Admiral Baker watched through his old binoculars as Imperial ships hung motionless in orbit, their perfect systems shut down by the very perfection that had made them strong. Status report, he called out, his voice steady despite the history-making moment. Their main quantum core has completely failed, Dr. Roberts reported, checking her mechanical instruments. Their entire fleet is running on emergency power. No communications, no advanced weapons, no coordination. In his flagship, Grand Commander Lewis faced the unthinkable total defeat. His neural interface showed nothing but error messages. The quantum AI that had conquered hundreds of worlds was giving him only one message: system error, unable to process. Sir, Lieutenant Ray called out from his station in Earth's bunker. We're receiving surrender signals, old-fashioned radio waves. They're actually using our primitive technology to surrender. Baker allowed himself a small smile. Send the response. Let them know their ships will be allowed to leave after they dump their quantum computers into the sun. Around the planet, the scene repeated itself. Imperial ground forces, cut off from their advanced guidance systems, found themselves surrounded by humans who needed no guidance at all. The Empire's perfect army discovered that their training, based entirely on AI support, left them helpless without it. Message from London, Moscow, and Beijing. Ray announced, Imperial forces are laying down their weapons. They're requesting safe passage home, by map and compass. Dr. Roberts looked up from her mechanical computer. The most amazing thing. Some of their younger soldiers are asking to stay. They want to learn how we did it, how we kept the old ways alive. In orbit, Lewis made the hardest decision of his life. He opened a channel using an ancient radio system his ship still had for emergencies. To Earth Command, his voice crackled through Baker's radio. We submit to your terms. The Empire acknowledges its defeat. We request mercy. Baker picked up his handset. Mercy was always available. You just had to ask instead of demand. He turned to his staff. Begin Operation Welcome Home. Show them how humans treat honorable surrenders. Across Earth, something remarkable happened. Humans, who had just fought off the galaxy's greatest power, began helping their defeated enemies. They taught young Imperial soldiers how to navigate by stars, how to communicate without computers, how to survive without perfect systems. Report from the Asian Command, Ray said, reading from a paper printout. 300 Imperial ships have already dumped their quantum cores. They're learning to use our old navigation systems. In the following days, the true impact of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations, hearing that the undefeated Empire had fallen to a primitive world, sent observers to Earth. They came expecting to find advanced weapons. Instead, they found something more valuable: knowledge of how to be independent from technology. Sir, Dr. Roberts said, 1 month after the victory, we're getting requests from 50 different worlds. They all want to learn our primitive ways. They're calling it the human approach, keeping the old knowledge alongside the new. Baker stood in the sunshine outside his bunker, watching Imperial ships peacefully leaving Earth's orbit, now guided by simple radio beacons. Send them all the same message. Earth's knowledge is free to those who come as friends. The Empire's defeat changed the galaxy forever. Earth became known not as a primitive world, but as the world that remembered what others had forgotten. The value of imperfection, the strength of diversity, and the importance of never putting all your trust in one system. Final report, Sir, Ray said, reading from the last ticker tape of the war. The Empire has officially reformed. They're calling themselves the Galactic Confederation now. Their first law: every world must maintain backup systems that don't rely on quantum technology. Baker nodded, looking at the old equipment that had saved Earth: the radios, the mechanical computers, the paper maps. Sometimes the best way forward is to remember what's behind. Humanity had not just defended Earth. They had taught the galaxy a lesson. True advancement means keeping the best of the old while embracing the new. In the end, it wasn't Earth's weapons that had defeated the Empire. It was human wisdom, passed down through generations, that proved the most powerful force of all.